What is up, guys? Zane from the Madden YouTube channel. The halfback base is all the rage right now late in Madden 21. In today's video, I'm going to explain which halfback base is the single best run in the game. But before we get into the video, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys take the time to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads coming your way here on the Zane Madden YouTube channel. If you guys want to take your game to the next level in Madden 21, check out my strategy site, gridirongameplans.gg. Gridiron Game Plans is your one-stop source for all things competitive Madden. Every week in our Vault update, we take a look at the meta, or the most effective tactics available being used by pro players in the MCS circuit, breaking down not only how and why the pros do what they do, but most importantly, how you can counter those metas when you face them in online gameplay. On top of that, your subscription also includes any and every offensive and defensive game plan released on the website while your subscription is active. So head over to gridirongameplans.gg, $9.95 per month unlocks the entire website, and you can opt out at any time. Okay guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about today's video. The halfback base has become really popular late in the Madden 21 season. And the reason for that is that the halfback base cannot be stopped by the inside stuff ability, which is more so an inside zone stopping ability. And it's also very difficult to gap shoot from the most popular defense, which is the nickel 335 wide. So when you think about the popular base that's really going around right now, it's actually the gun trips tight end, because the trips tight end is a really solid passing scheme. It's a meta passing scheme that you guys have seen. Most players actually pass out of it from the Las Vegas Raiders playbook. But the halfback base out of the New England offense is actually really tough. And you still have some pretty decent passing plays to kind of work with. Curl flat, for instance, is one of those, even though you don't get the X-spot play that you find in the Vegas Raiders trips tight end. But that is not the topic of today's video. We're going to talk about halfback base, but we're going to talk about the true best halfback base in the game, and that is actually the one that is found in the Arizona Cardinals playbook in the Gun Cluster HB Str. Now, with halfback bases, this is something that is really interesting. You will notice that halfback base is best run to a side that does not have a tight end. So for instance, if you want to run halfback base out of like a gun ace or an ace offset, if you can find a halfback base that has a tight end on the side that you're running to, you'll notice that they get shedded instantly every single time. Now, when you think about bases like the trips tight end, the trips tight end relies on receivers to get blocks on defensive backs, outside linebackers, safeties at the second level, and it's pretty effective. Now, what's even better is if you just have one wide receiver to run behind rather than three that can get block shedded, and you don't have a tight end on that side. And that's where the cluster HB Str comes into play. Now, before I get into how this run works, I want to give a quick shout out to my good friend Colt45. He's been a major contributor to gridirongameplans.gg this year. He's put some dime rush defensive schemes in the vault. He's done a number of scheme or meta changes with abilities that people kind of sleep on. And he has an offense out of the Arizona Cardinals that you guys should definitely be looking at if you guys want to kind of look at some different things. I would actually highly recommend that you go check out his cluster, his Arizona offense as a whole, kind of absorb that. Also take a look at my spread game plan on gridirongameplans.gg and kind of fuse a lot of the RPO and quarterback running style things with some of the unique route combinations and run setups that Colt has in his Arizona Cardinals. If you can take the best out of both worlds, you're going to have a dynamic offense that is really difficult to stop. Now, me personally, when it comes to offenses that are difficult to stop, I'm really happy that more people do not run the gun cluster. I find it to be insanely frustrating to defend. A lot of people shy away from the cluster because they feel like it's not the greatest pass protection formation in the world, but it's actually got some really solid and unique ways to protect a quarterback. That's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and stop talking about it and let's show it to you. The 45 quick base. Now, the 45 quick base, the cool thing about this is that if your opponent is running a nickel defense, the nickel is going to be on the trip side, which is the side the running back is already on and running away from, meaning that you're not going to have the strongest defense in the world to the side of the run unless you wanted to flip your nickel corner or do some shifting. Now, as it starts off with, say, like your Mike Blitz 3, if I just click off here, the first thing that I notice is that obviously Kenny Clark, who has inside stuff, is not going to activate on this run. So So this allows you to just honestly run this ball. And you see what ends up happening is they don't actually block the outside corner that is found in the Mike Blitz 3, which is the main run defense that is out there right now. So you would think when you look at this wide receiver that he would just go ahead and block number 20. Well, because the Mike Blitz 3 is not the main defensive meta, or is the main defensive meta, in the outside third, which is number 20, Kevin King, is not in the run fit, he backpedals. So he doesn't recognize run. He's not a run player at any point in this play. He's only going to drop into his outside third. Now, if this were a cover 2 shell, you would see that Kevin King would engage with the receiver, but because he's not in the run fit, he backpedals, and this safety who is in the run fit ends up being the one that is targeted by the lone receiver. From a standpoint of who blocks whom, this is a really, really solid scheme, because now you're one-on-one with a corner who's backpedaling, and you have a pulling guard on this play. Now, keep in mind here that I'm just running with Reg's rosters. We are in basically in-game mutt level players, so you guys could go find a guard that's got solid speed, acceleration, and you can get him out in front of you. In fact, one thing that I would highly recommend doing is doing a little hesitation, a little stop and go, to allow that guy to kind of pull out in front of you, and if you can master that, that's going to make this run even more effective, definitely more effective. So you kind of take this handoff, kind of tap the button back, and then you see how that kind of sets up that block. Now right there again, Samaya, I'm not sure what his ratings are, but we put him in a good spot to actually throw that block. And I think that if he was a little bit higher overall awareness, play recognition, we would have been in a spot where we actually could pick up that lead block on that outside corner. Right here, he just kind of blocks nobody, and thanks a lot, EA. Really good block targeting. But it is what it is. Go ahead and take a look at his ratings here, just to give you an idea what we're dealing with. That's a 67 overall. If I were to auto reorder here, he's still starting. Let's see who they have at left guard. Not that much better, but obviously if you have better acceleration, get a guy who's a little bit faster, top end speed wise. Maybe I put in this Cleveland guy, who even knows at this point. Let me go ahead and respot the ball here. This run is really, really tough. And the reason it's really, really tough on top of that is that most players are doing this offset, pinch the line, shade into cloud flats with purple zones on the outside. And it's just like a 2-man rush defense. Well, that's not going to get the job done. This really passive 2-man rush defense does not do a good job. And you see how we can get outside really, really easily with this run. Now, the other thing that we're not talking about here is the fact that we can actually still, even if they were to shift this way, we can actually still, I believe, motion block, and the nickel corner won't travel. You see how the nickel corner stays? So now if we want to, we could put another body over there, and that's going to allow us to, run the ball to the point of attack. Now, let's go ahead and talk about how this offense fuses with, say, the regular gun cluster. A simple audible into the gun cluster is really, really hard to deal with, because if you think about the way people are going to have to shift their defensive line if they know the base is coming, and you take a look at the actual gun cluster, this gun cluster has the outside zone going the other direction and a mid draw. Are those runs great? No, not necessarily, but it's something that has to be respected, because let's say I go ahead and we have the outside zone already in the audibles. Let's go ahead and throw the mid draw. There is also a counter. Counters are kind of hit and miss, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of them. But let's say, unless your opponent knows what they're doing, they've got to shift their defensive line this direction to have any chance of stopping this. And then they're setting up their double Mabel and the spy, and then their users sitting right here, and they try to shoot all the gaps manually, right? So it looks something like this, and they just try to fly through the middle. Well, let's go ahead and try to shoot the gaps here. You see how the guard picks up the gap shoot on this? So it's actually a pretty difficult run to gap shoot. So with all the players that are so focused on trying to blow up the run manually out of 3-3-5 wide, this is actually really a hard run to stop, because that guard is so smart. When they offset to when you offset to the correct side, they're not going to be able to shoot that the right way at all. That guard is right on you. Let's say that you shift the other direction. Let's say that you do it this way, and you try to fly in like this. We snap the ball. Again, I'm not controlling the stick. You see how that guard has eyes for you no matter what? So this is a run that cannot be gap shot at all. and it's really tough to do. And let's say that for whatever, for the sake of argument, that you do face someone, because there are players out there that are really savvy and they know where to stand against every run, and they've done a little bit more labbing in their 3-3-5 wide than I have personally. Let's say that they've got a gap shoot, you know, what's to stop you from maybe flipping the running back audibling into cluster, and then because this is a pass play, pass blocking on a draw, you know, running a mid draw or an outside zone. You know, a lot of times when players see this audible, where let's say for whatever reason, like I said, they've got the good gap shoot on you, and they see you do this, they're not assuming that you're honestly audibling. They're assuming that you're just floating your running back, especially if you put your cursor on the running back first. So what I would recommend doing is going, okay, I want to switch into outside zone at a regular cluster. So you just put the little cursor on Cook. They're going to see the Cook's name appear underneath them, and then you check into the outside zone going the other direction. They just think that you're blocking the running back on the other side or setting up a route combo, and then now you're running inside zone, you know, this direction. And you know, obviously, hopefully you don't have no outsiders that is just going to smoke your absolutely smoke your tight end there on the line. But you know, this looks like a more or less of a you know, a float of the running back rather than a formational adjustment. So not only do you have a run that is arguably the hardest to shoot run in the game, and it runs away from the nickel corner, but you also have the ability to check into runs from the other side, and your opponent is not going to be keen to that. Most likely, they're certainly, if they're lined up like this and you float the running back, they're not going to have time to do, you know, the shift, the recrash, the respy, and then set their guy up over here. And even if we want to do that, then you can reset the play and quick snap them running base the other direction. So how quick the running back moves in this is really problematic for the people that like to run 3-3-5 wide. It's one of the reasons that, say for instance, when I think to my spread offense, I run the gun ace offset as my base offense, because when I flip the play, the only player who moves is the running back. So for all those gap shoots that require the defensive line to be shifted left and the user to be offset in a certain direction, maybe to the right or on the left as well, if you float that running back, now all of a sudden they've got like 2 seconds to shift their defensive line, recrash, respy, and move their user. Most players can't handle that pace change on the fly. Now, I do want to talk about Tampa 2 here. You guys remember I talked about how the nickel corner, or I'm sorry, the outside corner wasn't in the run fit in a cover 3 zone. He is in the run fit as the force defender in a cover 2. So if we run this base here, he actually is blocked by that receiver, which again, that point of attack receiver is brilliant on this play. He blocks the corner if he's in the run fit. He blocks the safety if the corner is not in the run fit. It's so nice, so unbelievably nice. Best block targeting run in the game, and honestly, you know, the receivers, you know, one of the players that let you down most in most runs, they know. I mean, you take a look. I'm going to show you the same run fit. You see how this safety right here is Savage is the one that's in the run fit, and this is the force defender. That tells, you know, the receiver, he doesn't need to block Kevin King. He just knows, oh, that guy's not in the run fit. Let's go ahead and block the safety. He might go ahead and stock block the receiver if the safety doesn't play downhill quickly, and that's something to consider as well. Notice that when I run this play here, if I were to play like hard flats and then do something like this, sometimes this safety shoots down right away, and if he does, the wide receiver will pick him up. But if you get both players backpedaling, the receiver will just go ahead and stock block the receiver. And look how the point of attack is. Like it's really good. Just truly, to me, the hardest to shoot run in the game. And honestly, as it pertains to just trying to like contain it from getting a big play on you, this play is a nightmare. Is an absolute nightmare. I speak from experience. You know, the guy who runs this offense, Colt, that I talked about at the beginning of the video, when we played in a CFM Super Bowl, I think he ran this like 10 times for like 170 yards on me. You know, it's just so difficult. And I don't even run the main meta. I run, you know, nickel 245, which I just put a video out, I believe last week, showing you guys how to gap shoot bases out of the nickel 245. Well, I can promise you, you're not gap shooting this out of the nickel 245. Again, I'm not saying that there aren't gap shoots available. You know, you might be able to find something out there. You know, if you work hard enough, you can always find something, you know, but the problem is most players want to sit in their double Mabel and rush 2 or 3, and that's just not really advantageous. It's just not, you know, you might be able to find, you see right there, even the gap shoot that a lot of players use against the trips tight end doesn't even work on this run. So add this, seriously. If you guys are looking for a change of pace offense late in the year, I highly recommend the Gun Cluster. It is a hell of a lot of fun. You can actually get 4 receivers on the field in this as well. So if you don't want to have that extra tight end on the field, you can definitely get a 4th receiver. And like I put out in our vault update just last week, you guys can get 4 route techs on your field for 4 AP. If you go check out the Gridiron Game Plans vault, I show you guys how to get those 4 route techs. You'll have receivers lighting up all over the field, and really honestly have a lot more fun here in the last couple months of Madden 21. So if you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, drop those below. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload 5 times a week in the late morning to early afternoon. Definitely check out gridirongameplans.gg. Again, guys, $9.95 per month unlocks the entire website. Hopefully I'll see you guys over there on the website. If not, we'll be right back here tomorrow with our next video upload. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab, man. Good luck.